I'm totally doing it. Welcome to the Fantasy Aceball podcast. This is Tim Kanak on Twitter. You can find me on Fantasy Base Aceball. I'm totally botching it now because I'm changing my intro to Raymond. His cup says, "Ask me about my dad jokes." So Raymond, I'm throwing you on the spot. Give me a good dad joke right here.
It seems like I only get sick on weekdays. I must have a weekend immune system.
There we go. That's a nice one. That's pretty good.
Thank God for the internet.
I'm in a marketing group, and there's a dude who it's like a mastermind group or whatever for business owners. And there's one guy, his like my job is to like time people or whatever. And there's this guy in the group, his job is to do a dad joke, and some of them are quite terrible.
I mean, a
Some
good
of them are
dad
pretty
joke
good.
is equally terrible and equally funny. It depends on
Yeah.
what you're in the mood for.
No, but the ones that are terrible are the ones where you already know the answer before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that I'm just like,
I guess yeah, there's three
they
prongs.
just
It's got
fall
to be
flat.
funny, it's got to be witty and cringy.
Yes, for sure, cringy. So anyway, that's Raymond Atherton. You can find him on the X at Raymond Atherton because I completely botched this intro. And again, I am at Fantasy Aceball on the X. And today we are going to be talking about middle infield dynasty rankings. But before we get into that, we are in the midst of TGFBI. Raymond, I am in round 16 right now, and I've got the Justin Mason in my draft.
Ooh,
Uh, the kid, I got the king himself. I'm going to take him down. And it's funny because he was going for a 0 second clock in the whole draft,
I
and then
saw that.
I ruined it because last time I drafted too quick and he didn't have time to do his auto, and then he was at like 30 seconds, and I was like, haha. So
Still, dude, under a minute is impressive.
yeah, for sure. He just had auto the whole way. So anyway, Raymond, why don't you tell me a little bit about your team? What round are you in, and what is your team looking like in TGFBI right now?
We're in round 7, and I actually waited this long to tweet
Round
it.
7. That's so slow.
Bro, Jake made it through 4 rounds on Monday when this draft started, and I think we were in round 4 on Wednesday, maybe? I'm not. Um, People just been taking 3 hours a pick at least, and then it seems like we get to when the clock stops and nobody drafts at all. So like we're not even making up time while the clock's not running. But anyways, I had the eight pick. I took Kyle Tucker, and then I'll just run through it. William Contreras in the second, Corbin Burns in the third, Teoscar Hernandez in the fourth, Kyle Schwarber in the fifth, Seiya Suzuki in the sixth, and Brian Reynolds in the seventh. And so if you follow me on Twitter, I grabbed a screenshot of this and I just tweeted, "Who needs infielders?"
Who needs pitching, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, pitching is yeah, that's fine. Everyone's fading pitching. The entire industry is fading pitching.
I am too. I'm right there. Actually, in my draft, round 4, there were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pitchers taken in round 4 in my draft.
Yeah,
And
there was a
round
huge
round
run.
3, there was like 7, but nobody. The first pitcher went at pick 21 in mine.
9. Paul Skeens went at 9 and 9.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I did a DC and I picked Skeens at 15, and I thought Skeens might have fallen to me because I'm picking third in mine. I thought he was going to fall all the way back to me in the second round for a second. It got me pretty excited, but it didn't happen. So, what is your strategy then? Because you have all hitters so far, right? You didn't have one pitcher.
Corbin Burns. I took
Oh,
Burns in the
yeah,
third.
third pick. Okay, that's all right. You don't have any
Um,
closures though, right?
yeah, no closers. I was thinking my last pick, I was on the fence between Ryan Walker and Brian Reynolds, and I think Brian Reynolds is the perfect like average player you need in TGFBI. He's going to get 25 home runs, 9, 10, 11 steals, whatever it works out to be, hit 280. So um, I like that value more than closer 10 or whatever. So
You might have to try to pop a super speed guy though. You have a ton of power on your team, but not a lot of speed.
I
You
was
have Tucker,
really
and that's about it.
worried about power. So like Teoscar Schwarber were two conscious power picks. So but I was trying to make up power from taking Tucker and Contreras in the first 2 rounds. So I definitely made those two picks on purpose, but speeds are easy enough to make up in the late rounds. So, and I've ignored ignored the infield so long that I can very easily just grab like a Bryce Turang or
Tucker is
someone.
gonna cook, dude, this summer. As
I
long as
know,
he's
dude. I
healthy.
have him in like 4 leagues, and I didn't even do it on purpose.
Yeah, he's gonna get off to a slow start, I think, just because Wrigley in with
Spring is
yeah, it's tough. It's
terrible.
freezing there. But I think when it gets hot, he's gonna cook there because the ball starts flying out toward the lake. And like I've been to Wrigley. During when it's cold, it's really freaking cold there. But like once the wind starts blowing out and you get to the summer, like I think he's gonna just cook. So
My wife and I went to Chicago for our honeymoon, so I was there in August in 2018. And yeah, Wrigley's awesome. I'd recommend it to any baseball fan. It's crazy because you go to these regular stadiums and they're like in downtown of major cities. Wrigley's just in a fucking neighborhood.
yeah,
You're just like walking through some houses and it's like, oh my God, that's an MLB stadium.
yeah, it's really close to where all the rich people live, and then
Yeah.
it's like also really close to like their like gay district. So it's kind of
Yep.
interesting crowd you get there.
Yep.
Like I have a bunch of my college roommates grew up like right next to Wrigley.
That'd be
So
so cool.
University of Missouri, and like I went to University of Missouri, and it's funny. And I had four roommates, and they were all Cubs fans except for me, and then there was one like Red Sox fan, and then so like all my friends were basically Cubs fans, and then I'm the one Cardinals fan, and they all lived like right in that area, and that's where they filmed all those movies in like the 90s, like Home Alone, and like basically any movie that had what's his face in it, the big dude who's on all he died, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. What's his name? John Candy. Like any of those movies. Bill Murray was from Chicago. All those guys were from Belushi. All Blues Brothers. Like all that stuff was in Chicago, and all those guys like they ended up filming all their movies like right in that same area for a while.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they also filmed. I was there. They were filming The Dark Knight when I was there one time. I was like visiting my friends in college, and one of my friends lived downtown Chicago, and I was staying in like his mom's condo or something like that. And they were filming Dark Knight, and they were like shutting down roads, and you would see them do like they were doing the chases at the time with like the weird Batmobile, like the one that looks like the Cybertruck now, basically like black Cybertruck. They were doing
Oh
like
yeah.
the street chases with that. It was pretty cool. Um, so anyway,
Ryan Walker is still a free agent in my TGFBI. There's a small chance he comes back to me. Robert Suarez is still available too.
I would prefer Walker if you can.
Yeah,
I actually like Walker as a closer one if you could get him. I really like Walker for this year.
but
San Francisco is great for pitchers, and I think he's locked into that role. Doval is too volatile. I think it's just Ryan Walker's, so I'd go for that.
yeah, Trevor Miguel is still a free agent. Like there's still closers available.
You're gonna go on you need to go on a starter run too soon. So
Yeah,
I picked third, and I ended up with Aaron Judge. Even though I wanted Otani or Witt, I'm fine with it. Tons of power there, right? Then I came back around, and we're William Contreras brothers here this year because I got William Contreras in the second round. Then I went Wyatt Langford in the third, Ryan Helsley in the fourth, so I got my saves out of the way
I
early.
saw
My
that.
pitcher. Lawrence Butler in the fifth, who I can't believe he made it that long because I freaking love Lawrence Butler for this year. Um, I can't believe he made it to the fifth. Matt McClain in the sixth, of course, because what's a Tim draft without me getting Matt McClain, right?
I saw that. He went in the seventh of mine. I was hoping he'd last till the eighth.
Yeah, I went early on him, and part of that is like to me, he's in the same tier as like Altuve and Albies and these guys, and like I don't know, I like him a lot, so uh, I was not going to chance him, missing him the next time around. I got Bryce Miller for my first starter in the seventh, Royce Lewis in the eighth, Tanner Bybee for my second starter in the ninth, Shane McClanahan for my third starter in the 10th. I actually really love my rotation, and I waited. Tyler Stevenson in the 11th, so I've got William Contreras and Stevenson as my catchers, which I love. Dansby Swanson in the 12th, Elliot Ramos in the 13th, Shane Baz in the 14th, and Gavin Williams in the 15th. So I ended up not picking a starter until round 7 and still ended up with a rotation of Bryce Miller, Tanner Bybee, Shane McClanahan, Shane Baz, and Gavin Williams. So I'm pretty happy about that rotation, that like top 5 starters while waiting that long. I already have 4 outfielders. So like really I'm missing a first baseman, and that's like my big weak spot right now is first base, but there's still a decent amount of first base depth around. Like I'm looking at hopefully Nate Lowe, he's a Lowe. Nate Lowe. I'm looking at Nate Lowe or Michael Bush or maybe like Jay Cronenworth coming back around to me. So that's probably who if Lowe is there, I'll probably pick him next pick. But if not, then like I'll shoot for like Bush or Cronenworth. So like you could do a lot worse than Cronenworth, especially I think if you load up the outfield. So I think it's really smart in a league like this to go outfield heavy, because outfielders tend to get stuck in platoons way more than other positions. And you don't want your 4th and 5th outfielders to be platoon guys where they're only playing 4 or 5 times a game, or else you're just not going to get the counting stats. So I think like the strategies that you and I took by going pretty outfield heavy is actually like very beneficial in a 5 outfield league. Like a 3 outfield league, it's like, who cares? You're going to be fine. But if you're in a 5 outfield league, it gets really tough to fill out 4th and 5th outfielder without getting platoon guys. In a weekly league, that sucks. Like that really sucks if you're like 4th and 5th outfielder are both platoons. You don't want like Matt Wallner just went in mine. Like you don't want Matt Wallner to be your 4th outfielder because he's not going to play against righties.
Right. His ceiling's 125 games.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Soler even. Soler is a guy who can either gets platoon or gets hurt. Like Alec Burleson went in the 14th. That's a platoon bat. Burleson is not gonna hit against lefties. So I don't know. Like I don't want platoons. I'm trying to just get as many PAs as I can out of my starting hitters.
Yeah, and I feel like the part of my strategy too is like in 15-team roto leagues, there's not a lot on the waiver wire, but what you do find on the waiver wire is I feel like is like those corner infield types, those first third guys, and then some middle infielders that can give you some speed at least. So I was definitely on the same page with like I'm gonna get 4 outfielders that I really like, and then if I need to backfill on the waiver wire, like at least you're gonna have a hole somewhere. So like I was glad to put that hole on the infield. And I'm only through 7 rounds, so I have no idea what my team's gonna look like when I'm through, even as far as you are. So
yeah, I like Spencer Torkelson, for instance, is going around like pick 400. Like he's like close to pick 400, and he is just going off right now. Like if he turns back to Spencer Torkelson from 2 years ago at pick 400, that's such a bargain. If you can get a 240 hitter who can hit 30 bombs that far in like that deep in a draft, you take that all day.
Well, dude, Christian Walker's still undrafted in mine, and like I don't know if everyone saw that. Yeah, but he doesn't have an oblique strain this time, so
yeah.
I mean, I'd even take a flyer on that.
For sure. Dude, if Christian Walker is still there, I might go Christian. Well, I don't know if you can risk it. If you miss out on like the next closer, you're just going to get screwed with maybe closers. You have to get at least like one definite guy.
Well,
if you
dude,
don't get, like, one definite saves guy, you just get rocked in this type of league.
Right. Or you just end up taking like 4 straight maybe guys in the late teens, early 20s or whatever. So
yeah,
the replacement value is not there.
So George Kirby and Grayson Rodriguez are both hurt, Raymond. And Kirby is a shoulder thing, but apparently there's no structural damage. Grayson Rodriguez is a tricep thing, and apparently there's no structural damage. They're both supposed to miss the beginning of the season at this point and start on the IL. Which of these 2 guys are you more concerned about? Like which like out of these 2 guys, if you're picking one to go with now in a redraft league, like which one are you going with?
It'll be Kirby. I mean, the G-Rod thing is concerning because at first he was fine. He was just working on his arm slot mechanics. Then it was the triceps, and then today it's tricep and elbow inflammation or whatever. Like we're trending towards the Tommy John, which is terrible and awful for everyone involved. But
I mean, he was the last guy on that list. Remember that list going around with he's like the last guy who hasn't gotten TJ. I mean,
he was hurt last
he did
year.
still get hurt, but he didn't
He
have
was
TK. So
he was hurt last year, so I mean, it makes sense that like his mechanics may have changed at some point in his recovery process, and
he said
he
he
was.
changed them on purpose, which is weird.
I mean, that's Tyler Glasnow didn't change him on purpose, but when they were doing all that spider tack bullshit, like that's how he had to change the grip on his curveball or whatever, and that's what got led to him getting Tommy John. He said so. Yeah, I mean, like these guys make one tweak and they put too much strain on the wrong spot, and that's all it takes. So yeah, I'm definitely taking Kirby with a not so serious shoulder injury, but I'm avoiding. Kirby was going too high. Like I want to take hitters pretty much in
Yeah.
that range. Like I either want a starter before that or after that. So if G-Rod plummets before we get real news, like maybe, but I'd take Kirby, I guess, if we could get a discount.
Yeah, I'm spending like no money in pitching in like any league. Like we started we'll probably talk about it on another pod, but you started a startup Otnu 16 team league, the Carolina Cup, which is kind of like a knockoff of my FAI Fantasy Baseball Invitational. And in that league, the most expensive starter that I bought was a $34 Cole Reagans, and then my next guy was like a $20 Hunter Green. I was not going to spend like multiple $30 guys, and I was definitely not going for like a $40 or $50 starter in that league
Yeah,
because
the mo-
I'm just like so afraid of spending that kind of money on a starter and then they get hurt, and I'm just like, well, shit. So it's like I'd rather spend the money on hitters and then just throw darts at pitching, and then hope that just throw darts at stuff. Like I'm like, okay, I'll take a $9 Brandon Woodruff, and I'll take $5 Clark Schmidt and $5 Drew Rasmussen and $3 David Festa. I'll just throw a bunch of darts on guys that I like and hope that they pan out and hit instead of spending big money on like a Corbin Burns who could get hurt, or like Grayson Rodriguez who probably went for like $40 in that league. So like,
26. I have him for 26, which is not as bad as FAI where I have him for 34 now.
yeah. So I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just so afraid of pitching, especially in like a dynasty. Like I don't even want to keep pitchers in a dynasty league. Just give me all hitters. Like
Yeah, dude, the true dynasty league I joined on Twitter last year, I have Luis Hill and Sean Manaea. And like
yeah,
just
that's
4 months of pitcher injuries like that.
That's fun. So we are going to get into second base now. We're going to do the same game: keep, redraft, and cut. And these rankings are exactly of my rankings, except the second base. I'm telling you right now that I mixed it up because in my second base dynasty rankings, number 1 is Mookie Betts and number 2 is Jackson Holiday. But to make it more fun, I put Jackson Holiday in the second tier just because there's this poll going around on Twitter right now of who would you rather have, Jackson Holiday or Christian Campbell? That's getting kind of like a lot of traction. And I just wanted to throw them in the same bucket just for fun when we're doing this. So that's the one mix up that I did here in my rankings for Dynasty. But second base is where we're going to start, and we're going to also do shortstop. So second base, tier 1A, which, by the way, for second base for Dynasty, I have Mookie Betts in his own tier by himself as my number 1 guy, but we can't play this game with just a one-man tier. So I threw him in here.
You could
Where
have
we
just let him be an
just
outfielder.
ignored him. Just ignored him. Yeah, or just ignored him.
But like maybe he won't have outfield.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, well, this is what's happening right now with the Dodgers. Tommy Edman has been playing a bunch of second base lately. So
Yeah, no, I saw an athletic article that they think they have like an elite defensive shortstop or something. Like, okay.
with Kim or with
No, it was about Mookie.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've got Edmund playing second, and they've had in center field, like of recent, it's been Outman and Pajes playing in center field. And then Kim has just been kind of like being the super utility guy playing like every position. So it's kind of interesting what they're doing with that. But anyway, tier 1A is going to be a cut 2. We've got 32-year-old Mookie Betts, 31-year-old Ketel Marte, 25-year-old Matt McClain, and 26-year-old Jordan Westberg. So keep 1, redraft 1, cut 2.
Dude, this is so hard. I'm gonna redraft Mookie. I'm gonna cut Ketel Marte. I'm going to cut McLean and I'm going to keep Westberg.
Ooh, Westberg truther here.
I
I'm gonna do similar. I'm gonna keep Betts, cut Marte, keep
keep
McLean,
McLean,
and
obviously.
then
You're the
cut
biggest Matt
Westberg. I,
McLean.
I love Matt McLean, but tell me why you would keep Westberg over McLean. I want to hear your reasoning here.
Um, I just think, I think, like I said the other day, I think he's going to be like 80% of Gunnar Henderson, which is like probably a third round pick, like 30 homers, 12, 15-ish steals. Like, I think with the Walls coming in, his power ceiling is a little bit higher. It's not like he, compared to McLean, they both have some injury history there. So, like, I just think Matt McLean's ceiling is maybe like a little bit lower, I guess, is what my argument would be. But
I would argue the other side of that. I would argue that Westberg's floor is higher, but
yeah,
McLean's ceiling is higher. I think Westberg is a little more sturdy, right? I mean, it's
right,
pretty obvious. Matt McLean missed a whole year, so, so it's like, the dude missed a whole year. So obviously, like, what's the bottom of McLean? Oh, nothing, because he just missed a whole year again. It came off with shoulder surgery. So like Westberg, to me, best case scenario is like a 270 hitter with like high 20s homers, like 27, 28 bombs, and then like 8 to 10 steals. Whereas I think Matt McLean, for me, like, he could hit 290 just because he runs super high BABIPs, because he has very high barrel and sweet spot rates and very high line drive rates. And also he's in Great Americans Ballpark, but I think he could hit 290 with a high BABIP season. And like 25-25 or 30, like he could easily do like 25-25, or like, I think Westberg has better power than McLean, but like McLean just brings an extra 15 steals to the plate, and that's going to add that much more value. Like, I think that when you're really looking at it, the big difference between the two is Westberg might get a few more bombs, but McLean should get like 10 or 15 more steals. And batting average wise, Westberg might be a little bit more steady because he's less BABIP driven, but McLean could hit just as well, if not better, just because he does have so many barrels and because he is in such a friendly home ballpark.
right. I guess I just want to see it one more time from McLean. Like coming off
Yeah.
shoulder injury, like how much of that power was real. Like the ballpark obviously is a big boost to mitigate however much of that power isn't legit. So like the point of this exercise is to make you make hard decisions. And I don't think you can go wrong with any of these guys.
Yeah, I agree. Tier 1B, we have a 21-year-old Jackson Holiday, a 23-year-old Christian Campbell, and a 22-year-old Travis Bazana. So this is another hard one here. Keep, redraft, cut.
So I'm gonna redraft Holiday. I think he's the safest one for 2025. I think that's pretty straightforward. We don't really know what's going to happen in Boston with Christian Campbell yet. So I'm going to cut him, and then I will keep Pizzana. He's like hitting 444 this spring with a couple home runs that went like 900 feet. So he seems to be pretty good. I've never been a Campbell guy. Like, not that I dislike him. It's just that like I've I'm indifferent.
I love Christian Campbell. He's my number 3 prospect. I am going to be this is tough because I almost want to keep Holiday and redraft Campbell just because I think Holiday is going to be so good long term. He's 21. He's the youngest guy out of these three still, and he's already in the majors. He's still developing. He's just like, and he's talking about having a strong spring. Holiday's also having a strong spring, and he changed his swing. He got rid of his
And
leg kick and got like a toe tap, and he's just like crushing it right now.
and his dad's like a hitting guru, and he said he
Yeah.
wants to steal 30 bases, and he's on a good team.
Yeah. So like part of me wants to keep Holiday. He definitely has the highest ceiling here. I think Christian Campbell though is a 300 hitter who can go 2020. So what I'm gonna do is, just because Holiday is a bank to make the team, I'll be redrafting him. even though like I almost want to keep Holiday and redraft Campbell. I'm like so split on this one, but I'm gonna go with redraft Holiday just so I can bank all the stats for this year, keep Campbell, and then cut Bazana, which like that's no slide on Bazana, but like Jackson Holiday was like was the number 2 prospect for me behind Caminero before he was called up, and then Christian Campbell is the number 3 prospect right now for me, and Bazana is I have it like 12, so that's kind of like the difference there. Tier 2A, we've got Bryson Stott, 27-year-old, Ozzy Albies, 28-year-old, and Zach Galoff, 25-year-old. What are you doing with this tier?
This one's tough. I mean, they're all tough. That's the whole point, Raymond. I'm gonna cut Geloff. I'm gonna keep Albies, redraft Stott, but I don't. Stott's ceiling isn't very high, so like he's more of just a middle infield guy. I don't think he's going to be a superstar by any means. He's more of a keep it moving kind of guy. And Albies, I'm not the biggest Albies guy in the world, but I mean, he's still locked in to a top 5 or 6 spot in that lineup. He's not going anywhere. So
yeah, this one is tough. I almost feel like it depends on your league. If you're in a regular roto league, I'm keeping Stott because I obviously have him ranked higher. But if you're in like a points or OBP, I'm gonna keep Albies, which are my preferred leagues. I'm gonna keep Albies, and I'm gonna redraft Galoff and then cut Stott because I think Galoff has the highest upside, and I think like he's the guy that if you're gonna like if you want to win, you like you're going Galoff. Like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna get first, or else I'm just don't give a shit. Then like I'm gonna go Galoff because he has like Matt McLean upside, but way more risk because his plate skills are way worse and his contact rate is like way worse. He's basically like drunk Matt McLean or something like on it. Like that's because he's just like a way worse hit tool, way worse plate skills, but same power speed.
I was just gonna say
Andy's going to be in a minor league ballpark this year too. So
he's like Matt McLean, but you only get the low end income or outcome. Like he's only gonna hit 215.
Yeah, well, he might hit 240. Like he's got enough speed that like he's not Max Muncy. You know what I mean? He might have Max Muncy's contact skills or whatever, and like, but he's got enough speed that he's going to run some of those grounders out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I like Athletics this year. I love I actually think the Athletics are like becoming smart. What they did with Lawrence Butler was a total Braves move. That's exactly what the Braves have been doing with all the players. Like
all they did was buy out Arb. It's just the Colt Keith deal for a little bit less money.
They got like 2 extra years out of him.
Well,
though.
yeah.
And they're spending money now.
Well, they had to.
And they're being aggressive with some of their call-ups. Like I kind of like what they're doing. I'm liking, and not to mention all of their hitters are going to be going from like the number 1 pitchers park, like the worst park for hitters, to a minor league ballpark that is at higher altitude. So I expect all of their hitters to take a nice step forward in power production for this year.
I don't mean to diminish what they're doing. I'm excited they're spending money too, but it's like the bar was so low for them that like signing someone to $70 million, like, and buying out 2 years of free agency gets us excited. It's like that's what every MLB team should be doing. So it's like I am excited they're doing things as well, but it's like let's remember where the standard should be.
I'm just jealous because the Cardinals don't do shit. So like I'm like, can't we do that with Mason Wynn right now? Like or something. And so like I'm just like, okay, the Athletics are like more aggressive than the Cardinals right now. It's like depressing. But anyway. Tier 2B is a cut to. We got a 4-man tier here. We have Luis Garcia Jr., 25, Jose Altuve, age 34, Marcus Semien, age 34, and Luke Keeschel, age 22. What are you doing in this tier, Raymond?
I'm going to redraft Semien. I'm going to cut Altuve and Keeschel, and I'm going to keep Garcia. And I'm going to just hand up. I don't know much about Luke Keeschel, so you can talk about him. But
what do you like about Garcia?
I like the upside about Garcia. Like if they will just let him figure it out against lefties, I think his upside could be even. Didn't he go like 2020 last year? Or
Close.
close?
He was close, and he had a very high batting average. He had a really good year last year, and
Yeah, so
he's a guy who's been around forever. It's so funny that he's only 25 years old because
right.
he's like way older. He's going to be a 27-year-old free agent, dude. He is entering. This is going to be his sixth season. That's insane.
That is
He
insane.
debuted as a 20-year-old. Like, so this is going to be his sixth season, and he was 18-22 last year with a 282
280
average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
760 OPS.
Yeah.
The plate skills aren't the best, but you can live with that with 18-22 at a second base.
Yeah. What I'm going to do with this tier is I am going to cut Semien 100%. I'm going to redraft. I'm going to redraft Altuve because I think that the fact that he's going to get outfield and second base eligibility this year is super sexy. When you're in like we had just mentioned with outfielders, when you're in a situation where no outfielders are like getting everyday playing time, Altuve is going to be leading off for that team every single day. So I'm cool with Altuve as an outfielder, to be honest, more than a second baseman if you're in a 5 outfielder league. And then that means between Garcia and Keishol, I just feel like I really, really like Keishol. I really like him, but Garcia is doing it in the majors, so I just have to keep it Garcia. Like I like Keishol a lot. I'm gonna say that. Like I think Keishol can do exactly what Garcia is doing, maybe even like next year in the majors as a 23-year-old. And I think that Keishel has a better hit tool and he has way better plate skills than Garcia. So he could be better than Garcia. But I think from a power speed perspective, he could kind of do something similar. He could be like a 2020 guy. So I really like Keishel a lot because he's like high hit, like he's just above average across the board, like high hit tool, high plate skills, and then like 20-ish homer power, 20-ish speed. So he's a big, like, I think he's a name to watch, and he's super underrated because he missed the last 2 months of the minor league season because he had Tommy John surgery. So he missed 2 months from that, and he still put up almost 2020 in the minors last year. So I really like Keishol, especially like the Twins need someone consistent. So, but I'm still going to go Garcia just because he's doing it in the majors now, and I will take that to the bank in some of these leagues. Take the guy now and over the prospect. So, and you're getting that from a prospect guy too. Tier 3A. This is a cut too. We've got Tommy Edman is a 30-year-old. Nico Horner is a 28-year-old. Luis Ariz is a 20-year-old. And Isaac Paredes as a 26-year-old. I put Paredes for second base because I'm not really sure if he's going to play second or third for the Astros. I kind of think he's going to be playing second since they're moving Altuve to the outfield. And I saw Shea Whitcomb twice already, and he was the most impressive player, probably besides Yanir Diaz. He was the most impressive player that I saw both days, like as an Astros hitter on the Astros for 2 days in a row. So I think Shea Whitcomb is a pretty solid player and could pop into third pretty easily for the Astros now that Altuve is in the outfield.
Interesting. I'm like, why the hell is Paredes on here at second base? That doesn't make any sense. For this one, I'm going to redraft Horner. I like the value there out of second base and shortstop. I'm going to cut Arias. And I think I'm going to keep Paredes. I love everything about, we talked about him last time. I love everything about him in Houston. So I'm going to cut Edman, even though that
even though you're wearing a Dodgers shirt.
Even though I'm wearing a Dodgers shirt, he's on a great team. He's on a great lineup. Like he's dual eligible or triple eligible even, I don't know. But he's got health issues. Those aren't just going to go away. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't think Tommy Edman can hit 30 home runs like I do Paredes.
No, he can't. But he can go like 15-25 or 15-30. He's done it before. And now he has a Dodgers lineup around him, so he's going to get a bunch of counting stats. So I think that I would redraft Tommy Edman, cut Horner, cut Arias, and then keep Paredes. Paredes is the youngest of this bunch. And now that he's in Houston, and we looked it up before. I think we look at it up last pod, or we looked it up before. But I think Paredes has 3 years still of eligibility there with Houston, right? Didn't we look that up last pod?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because of that, I'm going to keep Paredes and then redraft Tommy Edman. Tier 3B, we have everybody's favorite player this year, Brandon Lau, at age 30. Everything's being sneaky. It's hilarious. Like in my TGFBI, Brandon Lau was drafted, and then like 5 people in the chat were like, "Oh, I wanted him," and it's like, "Oh, thanks, Scott White." Like completely ruined Brandon Lau's value for this year.
Dude, I think he went in the 7th of mine. Like, I'm gonna double check, but I think he just went in the 7th round.
That's insane, dude. So I've got 30-year-old Brandon Lau, who is a platoon bat, by the way.
He went with the first pick. He went with the first pick of the 7th round.
That's freaking
7-1.
The dude doesn't even play against lefties. In his best year, he gets 450 at bats. He might still hit 30 bombs, but still, he's going to hit 240 with 30 bombs and only play 5 out of every 7 games. So we got Brandon Lau, 30, Nolan Gorman, age 25, Jonathan India, age 28, and Xander Bogaerts, age 32. What are you doing with this tier, Raymond?
This is I'm gonna redraft Lau, I think. Not at that price, I guess, but maybe no, let me take that back. I'm gonna redraft India. I think the power is obviously coming down in Kaufman, but I think everything else is going to get better for Jonathan India. If he leads off for the Reds, he might pick up outfield, or the Royals, he might pick up outfield eligibility. I guess I'm going to cut Brandon Lau and Xander Bogaerts. And then I guess that means I'm keeping Gorman and just hoping he can get the plate discipline and the strikeout rate low enough that he can hit like 240 and hit 30 home runs every year.
Yeah, I am doing the same exact thing. India, leading off in front of Bobby Witt. Okay. Like, I'll take that all day. Because
the team's not super deep, but it's top heavy. That top 4 or 5 should be pretty good.
He was not playing every day with the Reds. He's a good hitter, but the Reds were so deep in the infield that he was not even playing every day.
I think
now he's going to play every day and lead off in front of the best player in baseball. So
this is super niche, but I think there might be some, like when Ian Kinsler came to the Tigers, like Texas asked him to be a power hitter. So he had put on muscle and was trying to tool his swing to hit 25, 30 home runs. And then by like the second year he was in Detroit, they wanted him to be a true leadoff hitter. So he lost a bunch of weight, was swinging for more contact. Like, I think some part of Great American Small Park might have like been him trying to hit for more power than he should. So if he just like leans into being a leadoff hitter, I think he could take off.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that. Just hit 280 and hit 10 or 15 bombs and get a shitload of runs in front of Bobby Witt.
Get 20, 25 steals out of that too.
I don't know if he has that kind of speed, but he could definitely steal 10 or 15, I think.
I don't think he's still, I don't know. He was never like an elite athlete, but I think he's fast enough that he could do it, especially with the new rules.
Yeah, maybe. Gorman, I saw him in one game and he looked pretty bad still. And I saw Jordan Walker too. And Jordan Walker looked pretty bad still. So like, I don't know.
Damn Sprinkler.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually fix anything. Everyone's talking about, the Cardinals hitting coach. Everybody loves him. They brought him from Seattle. Seattle had some of the worst offense in baseball last year. So like, I don't know. I'm not too optimistic about Cardinals right now. So like, but still, Gorman is 25 and he could hit 30 homers as a second baseman. So like, basically, he could be Brandon Lau, but he's 5 years younger if he like actually does it right. So I'll take Gorman in the keeper. Tier 3C, because all these guys are on the same tier from the last 3. Cut 2. We got 25-year-old Connor Norby, 28-year-old Gleyber Torres, 23-year-old Colt Keith. You're probably like, why is Keith below Gorman? But I just don't Detroit ballpark things. No. But anyway, Christian Moore, age 22. These are the guys in this tier. So keep one, redraft one, and cut two.
Keep one, redraft one. I'm going to. Man, this is like the all floor tier. Like you want all these guys to have a higher ceiling, and it's just like for one reason or another, they just all don't. Um, guess I'm gonna redraft Norby because he can play three positions, and that's super helpful. He's one of the three best hitters on the Marlins, so he's gonna play every day. I'm gonna cut Torres. I think his upside's probably pretty capped in Comerica. Like he's gonna have a good lineup spot and might drive in some runs, but he has no shot at 30 homers. Like,
I bet he hits 280 this year.
yeah, I bet he does too. And Colt Keith has good plate discipline, and he's gonna pick up for space, and he's probably gonna bat behind Torres, honestly. But I'm gonna have to cut him as well. It's just same thing. The ceiling's just not, unless he takes a big step in terms of power. But I mean, he wasn't even a 30 homer guy in the minors, so I'll keep Christian Moore and just cut the Tigers based on ceiling.
Wow, dude, you're like me. You're a self-hating Tigers fan.
It's just that like I mean, like I wanted to keep Colt Keith in our 20 team league over Jackson Jobe because keeping pitchers is a trap, but like there's just the ceiling is just so nerfed that it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna redraft Norby too. I like Norby this year. Like I've always compared Norby to Aaron Hill. Aaron Hill put up some really good seasons. If you remember Aaron Hill with the Blue Jays when he was with the Jays. Gleyber Torres, I am cutting. I'm actually going to keep Colt Keith over Christian Moore. And the reason is Christian Moore has pretty terrible plate discipline from what I've seen so far. And Colt Keith has really good discipline.
That's its strength of Colt
I think
Keith.
they're honestly like the same dude, except Keith has way better plate skills, but
Moore has a better
Christian
ballpark.
Moore has a way better ballpark. And I'm just going to bet on Keith's plate skills because like I feel like he could do what Austin Riley did. Austin Riley struggled too when he first got up there, and then he's just gotten better and better. So I think that we're going to see some steps forward from Keith.
What you were talking about with Jackson Holliday scrapping his leg kick and just doing that toe tap, Colt Keith did that after like, I don't know when exactly it was last year, after 2 months or so, when he was just getting beat by fastballs. And so like that hot second half that he had was due to that toe tap. So, I mean, I still want to, like, dude, I would be so happy if he just turns into a stud, but like, I don't know. You got to see it.
Yeah. So the last second base tier that we're going to talk about here is another 4-man tier. We're going to cut two. We have Bryce Terang, 25 years old. Andres Jimenez, 26 years old. Basically the same dude. Luisangel Acuna, 23 years old. Basically the same dude. And then Brandon, we got 3 clones. And then Brandon Donovan, age 28. So we got 4 dudes here. 3 of them are basically mirror images of each other on different teams. What do you want to do here with these guys?
Whose ADP is the lowest? I'll redraft that guy. Donovan, probably.
Yeah, Donovan. It might be Donovan. Donovan has probably the best power potential out of all these guys. So,
yeah.
St. Louis also sucks for lefties. So St. Louis plays an average ballpark for righties, but is like one of the worst ballparks for lefties. Which is why Lars Nootbaar and like all the lefties that ever come to the Cardinals, they have unless you're Lance Berkman, good luck, or like Carlos Beltran, I think was a switch hitter, right? Like the lefties never hit in St. Louis for whatever reason. No power.
I will, yeah, but dude, Brendan Donovan, his projections are 12 bombs and 6 steals. Barf. Dude, I don't know. I'll keep Turang just because I've always loved Turang. Like, he's a shoo-in for 30 steals. He might hit 250. And then I'll cut Acuna and Donovan. I guess I'll redraft Jimenez.
I'm going to keep Acuna because I think that the Mets like him a lot. I mean, they traded for him. And I think that Cohen is going to try to play up this Acuna thing. So he's going to want him to be good because he knows he can make money on that. And he's a smart guy. So I think Acuna is going to get playing time. And I think he has a really high upside. because he's like a more aggressive version of Terang and Jimenez, which could fail. He could just flop, but
Yeah.
he's way more aggressive, I think. So I'm going to go Acuna for my keeper. For redraft, this is a tough one.
Don't you think he also
I
has
think
the worst hit tool though?
Acuna out of
Yeah.
all these guys, I don't know. I think his hit tool is better actually than Terang and Jimenez, but he also has worse plate skills because he strikes out more. So I think the hit tool is better. Plate skills are worse. I think he's got a little more power, and he's got like all three of those guys are super fast. Jimenez, for whatever reason, I'm gonna redraft Jimenez because Jimenez, I feel like the Guardians didn't want him to run. I feel like he's always a guy who could have gotten 30 or 40 steals, and then he like rates as super one of the fastest guys, and he like doesn't run so much. And I don't know if that's a Jimenez thing or if that's a Guardians thing. But the Blue Jays are in it to win it this year because Vlad is not going to re-sign with them. They're going to lose Bichette. I think they're just going to say F it. Jimenez goes steal as many bags as you can. Like we're in win now. All of our pitchers are 38 years old. Let's just fucking go for it and like steal as many bags as you can. So I'm gonna go Jimenez because I just think that I think right now that the Jays are literally like nobody wants to come to Canada. So we're just gonna say F it, win now, like go get it. So I'm gonna go with Jimenez there.
I think they're sellers at the deadline.
If they're not in the playoff hunt, they are 100% sellers. Can you imagine what kind of return they could get for Vlad?
Yeah.
I mean, or Bo Bichette too, but like Vlad, like really, or even like the pitchers. If you have Bassett having a good season, or like Scherzer, you just keep Godwin Francis and trade all the other guys if you can. But yeah, maybe if they're out of it, they should. I would. Let's get to shortstop now. You're gonna really love this first one, man.
I know. I was looking at this already.
This is just pure pain. This tier one for shortstops is Bobby Witt Jr. at 25 years old, Ellie De La Cruz 23 years old, and Gunnar Henderson 24 years old. Cut one of those guys, Raymond. Who do you hate?
Who do I hate? I guess I hate Ellie, and it has nothing to do with Ellie. It just has more how much I love Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson. Dude, good news. In my home league, I got the first pick, so I can finally roster Bobby Witt Jr. for the first time in my fantasy career. So
I've never had Bobby Witt either.
yeah, I'm gonna take Witt with the one pick. If anyone in my home league is listening, they're not. So I'm gonna keep Witt. I'm gonna redraft Gunnar. I'm gonna cut Ellie because you're a masochist.
I am. I'm keeping Bobby Witt. I'm going to redraft Ellie, and then I'm going to cut Gunnar. And I love Gunnar, but Ellie. I think is just going to have I think Ellie's MVP this year. This is going to be Ellie. This is going to be an Ellie De La Cruz MVP season. I told you in my TGFBI, I almost picked Ellie De La Cruz over Aaron Judge. I might regret that. I really might because like,
Dude, did I tell you Soto went 1-1 in my TGFBI?
Yeah, you did. That's insane. Like Soto, I don't know. He had such a good year, but he's not on the Yankees this year. He's not going to have that ballpark factor playing. He's going to hit 27 home runs this year.
No, he's going to hit like 33.
Yeah,
he's not going to hit 40.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Tier 2, go like I just love Ellie for this year for whatever reason. I'm all aboard Ellie for this season, even though he's way more volatile. If I had to keep two, I would keep Gunnar over Ellie long term, just because I think he's a safer player than Ellie. But for this year, I'm going Ellie. Tier 2A, we've got a 31-year-old Francisco Lindor, a CJ Abrams at age 24, and O'Neal Cruz, age 26.
I'm going to redraft Lindor. The dude just went 30-30. That's hard to find. He's a second-round pick, borderline first-round pick for a reason. This might be shocking, but I'm going to cut Cruz, and I'm going to keep Abrams. And that has more to do with just projecting Abrams than anything to do with Cruz. Like, I think Abrams could steal 60 bags this year if everything clicks.
Team context, too. The Nationals are a rising team. I'm doing the same exact thing. I mean, obviously, I have Abrams ranked ahead of Cruz. You've got 2 extra years here. And I think Abrams is basically the next Trey Turner. I think I've
Oh, and
this podcast.
O'Neal Cruz isn't going to be a shortstop next year.
Yeah, exactly. He won't be. Well, and who knows? He might still play some short. Who knows? Maybe in Yahoo leagues he'll still be shortstop. But yeah, I think Abrams is basically going to be the next Trey Turner. He doesn't have the same contact skills. Like his hit tool is worse, but besides the hit tool, he's basically got the same kind of deal going. And the Nationals are going to have James Wood and Dylan Cruz probably hitting right behind him for the next 5 years. So that's fun. So I'm gonna pick Abrams too as my keeper. Tier 2B. This is a cut 2. So we got 4 guys here. Zach Neto, age 24. Willie Adames, age 29. Corey Seager, age 31. And Trey Turner, age 32. What are you doing here, Raymond?
This is fun. I'm going to keep... Do I keep Neto just because he's the youngest? Yeah, probably. Because Adames will be on the other side of 32 in the back half of this. Yeah, I'll keep Neto. I'll cut Adames. I still really like him more than relative to most because everyone's fading him so hard in that ballpark.
Yeah.
But, and then I'll redraft Trey Turner. So I guess I'll cut Corey Seager too.
Ooh.
I mean, Corey Seager, he's shown that he can hit 30 home runs in 120 games, but what happens if that turns into 90 games, 100 games, as he starts to get close to that 32?
Yeah, this is the question, right? I'm going to keep Neto, and then so I'm right there with you. These 3 here picking the redraft guys hard. I think Adames is honestly the safest out of the 3, even though he is taking the ballpark downgrade this year. Just because Seager has had injury problems, and Turner could, as soon as that speed is the speed is getting worse. We saw it last year.
But
and his bat speed, he was having bat speed issues too. He has not been the guy he has not been the guy, the Dodgers version of Trey Turner for the last couple of years here. He's been good still, but honestly, I think that Adames can. I think I'm going to take Adames for redraft. He wants to go Seager. I'm not keeping Turner because I'm so afraid that once that bat speed slows down, he's just going to be trash. I trust Corey Seager long term. I think Corey Seager's going to be good till he's 35 or 36, just depending on injuries. I think Turner is going to fall off a cliff either this year or next year, which is why I
hopefully it's next year.
But Seager, I think, is just going to be good. I just worry about the injuries. And Adames, I think, is just so steady, and I think he's still going to hit 23 bombs, 25 bombs, and he's still going to get 12 steals, and he's going to get a ton of run in RBI because he's going to be hitting second in that lineup. So I think I'm going to go Adames for my redraft.
Just look at what Matt Chapman hit 28 or 29 home runs or whatever in San Francisco last year, and then he chipped in 15 steals. Where did that come from? He's not even fast.
Yeah.
So Adames just stole 30 last year, and everyone's just assuming that's going to go away because he got paid. But if the Giants want their guys to be running, and they must if Matt Chapman randomly stole 15 bases. So, no, I really like Adames too. And yeah, but the other thing I want to say about Trey Turner is he had 13 or 14 steals before he had that hamstring strain. So he's still fast. It's just if they want to mitigate the injury risk, I can see him slowing down or just taking it easy to get to the postseason or whatever. But he's still really good.
Yeah, just in case you wanted to note it, though, Trey is going to be leading off this year. It looks like the lineup, what they've been throwing out there the last few games in spring when they throw their A squad out, is Trey, then Harper, then Bohm, and then Schwarber at cleanup. So
I love that.
Yeah, so Schwarber's actually going to move back to cleanup rather than hitting first. Tier 3A. We have Mason Wynn, 23 years old, Anthony Volpe, 24 years old, and Jordan Lawler, 22 years old. What are you doing with this tier?
I'm going to redraft Volpe, keep Wynn, and cut Lawler. I just like,
I go ahead.
I don't know, just that Lawler's got injury history at this point. The Diamondbacks just paid Perdomo. Like, he's either going to switch positions or get traded.
Yeah, I I think Lawler could be the best player of this.
Yeah, I think so too.
He has the best tools out of this the whole group. Um, but Mason Wynn is just a baller, so I'm gonna keep Wynn. And redraft, I'm going Volpe just because Lawler is like unlikely to break opening day camp, and Volpe is gonna play for the Yankees this year a lot. So I'm gonna redraft him. Mason Wynn has a lot of upside still in there. He said that he wanted to steal 40 bags this year. He has the speed to. He's like a 90th percentile runner. So he has the speed to do it. And I think that he's still a 15 to 20 homer bat in there who can hit like 280. So I think Wynn is just a baller, and he's a dude who grinds and like wants to be the best player he can. Like he said, he's come out and said he wants to be a superstar. So like you love to hear that. Some guys are, he's not an Anthony Rendon. Like this is a dude who's going to be out there. Like people talk about how he's on the field. Like when he's fielding, he's like talking the whole time. He's like talking trash the whole time. So like like players on other teams don't like him because he's like constantly just out there like trash talking. But he's like hyping his own team up at the same time. So I really like Mason Wood. That's like my favorite Cardinal who's not JJ Weatherholt right now. Tier 3B. We have a 31-year-old Dansby Swanson, a 27-year-old Tyler Fitzgerald, who had a breakout last year, and then a 29-year-old Ha-Seong Kim, who is now on the Rays, but is going to be missing like the first month of the season, but should be back starting at shortstop after that, blocking Carson Williams. So that's
He
what's,
can play the
that's what's
outfield,
happening
right?
here. Huh?
He can play the outfield, right?
Yeah, you can play second, short, third, and outfield, but I don't know when the Rays signed Kim, it was kind of like definitely like okay, Carson Williams is not going to be up this year, or at least until the very end of the season. So
This is tough because I don't really want to keep Fitzgerald or Kim. Like, I'll redraft Swanson. I think he's
mhm.
useful. Um, he's like the top of the leftovers tier to me. Like, if you don't get anyone in that like Trey Turner tier, Corey Seager,
Yeah.
whatever, all the studs we've talked about, like
Well, the
he's the
interesting
guy that
thing The interesting thing about Fitzgerald too is he's also multi-position eligible because he's going to
yeah.
be playing second this year since they signed Adames, and he also played outfield last year. So he and Kim are both like multi-position eligible.
Yeah, I don't think Kim's ceiling is very high, and he's 2 years older, so I guess I'll keep Fitzgerald. I mean, Kim went like 11-22 and hit 230 last year. Like, that's not, it's useful. It's like a
He was
middle
really good
infielder.
in 2023, though.
Yeah.
Do you
Was
think that
he?
was Yeah. Do you think that was an aberration? Yeah.
1738.
hmm
I mean, he went 11-12 the year before that. Yeah, I think that was an aberration.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing as you. Swanson's money for redraft. Like the dude is going to hit 240, 250 with close to 2020. And
Before I
80 runs and 80 RBI, and then now he's got Kyle Tucker hitting in front of him. So
before I traded for Trey Turner in our 20-team league, I had Dansby Swanson just like circled in Sharpie of like get a shortstop in the draft. But
yeah, tier 4A, Ezekiel Tovar 23. I just don't. Everyone else has Tovar like probably in tier 2, but his plate skills are terrible. I just see Javi Baez like
that's
he's just a rock as
fun.
Javi Baez. His F scores on plate skills is like 56 or something. His plate skills are atrocious. He has a good hit tool, but plate skills are atrocious. He reminds me a lot of Javi Baez and Oscar Gonzalez. So no, I don't like Tovar long term, despite having the awesome home park. So Ezekiel Tovar 23, Carson Williams 22, and Jeremy Pena 27. All terrible hit tools, or I mean, like all terrible plate skills between all three of them. So, pick your poison here. What are you doing?
I'll redraft Tovar. I'll like even with the terrible plate skills, he's pretty useful. And he's actually not as bad in I guess in Otnu where strikeouts aren't negative points, but like I was shocked that he was a 5 point per game player last year. That blew me away. But
Lots
I'll
of hits,
redraft.
man. Lots of hits.
Yeah, I'll redraft Tovar. I mean, and he flirted. He had like 26 home runs last year. So I mean, that's hit 270.
Mm-hmm.
78 RBIs though. Um, yeah, I'll redraft Tovar. I'll keep Williams, and I will cut Pena. He's just that guy that we talked about last time. Like he's probably a better real life baseball player than he is fantasy, and he's just kind of good at everything. He's not
Yeah.
great at anything.
By the way, I'm going to note all three of these guys are like fire defenders. I think
Yeah,
didn't Tovar win a Gold Glove last year, and then Carson Williams is like a future, like he's an 80 grade defender at short. So you've got
future
like
platinum,
you've got like three fire defenders here, and they're all
which means they're going to play all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm doing the same thing as you. If Carson Williams was actually going to play the whole year, I would probably actually rather keep Tovar over Williams, which is why I have him ranked higher one spot. So, like, if all was even, I would be keeping Tovar, but because I want Tovar's plate appearances for redraft, I'm going to be redrafting Tovar here and then keeping Williams. I'm just not a Jeremy Pena guy. Like, never have been, never will be. I just think
I
he's
have
worse
him.
than these guys. He's a similar version of both of these guys, but he's also older and worse.
I have him in the Scott White Dynasty League, or I would have 0 shares in that league. That's a 2014 points league, so he's on a good contract. He's just like my steady, like you said, elite defense. So he plays every day. Like couldn't be happier in that league. But I definitely agree.
Yeah. Tier 4B, we have Sedan Rafaela, 24-year-old. Some people might argue with that. People love Rafaela. And then there's
I
a
don't.
27-year-old Bo Bichette and a 22-year-old Marcelo Meyer. Who are you going with in this tier? Like, I'm really down on Bichette, too. People are like, Bo Bichette all the way down here, what the hell? But, like, I just, I don't buy it, man. Like, talk about, like, he has bad plate skills, too. His chase rate is always like 50%. Like, the dude swings at everything. It's terrible. Like, you can't, like, pitchers will completely exploit that kind of chase rate.
Who are you
So,
talking about?
Bo Bichette.
I actually like him to bounce back quite a bit this year, so I was going to take him as my redraft. Um, I don't really love him long term, especially we don't know what's going to happen to him once he gets out of Toronto. But I'm gonna redraft Bichette, cut Rafaela. It seems like he's gonna get pushed out in Boston, just with the talent they have coming up. Um, Bregman already there, so I will cut Rafaela and I will keep Marcelo Meyer.
Ooh, I kind of like that. But I'm gonna do something different here. I am going to cut Bichette because I just don't like him. I'm gonna I'm gonna keep Rafaela. I think Rafaela is gonna have a 2020 year this year. He might hit 230, but I think he's gonna go 2020. And he's also a superior defender. So even though you're saying, oh, he's gonna get pushed out, like he's an insane defensive player. Like he is going to play somewhere, whether it's at short or outfield or whatever. You got Trevor Story at short. Like, do you think Trevor Story is going to be healthy all year? Very doubtful. So when Story gets hurt, is Meyer going to be ready to pop up? If not, then they just pop in Rafaela to short. So I like Rafaela. I think he's going to have a big year. So I'm going with him redraft, and I'm keeping Marcelo because I think that ultimately, I think that he is going to be basically Dansby Swanson for the Red Sox. And if you are going to have Dansby Swanson like skills, actually, I think he's going to have a better hit tool. I think he's going to be Dansby Swanson, but hitting like 270 or 280 instead of 240. So if you just take Dansby Swanson's like 18-18 profile with a 270 or 280 batting average every year in Boston with Boston's lineup, with all the guys that Boston is bringing in there, like I really like that long term. And I think that he's a leader too. And the Red Sox, that's one of the reasons the Red Sox want to keep him and don't want to move him is like, even though Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell are like the big hype guys right now for the Red Sox, I think that he's the leader of that group. So tier 5, last tier here for shortstops. We're going to cut 2. We've got a 25-year-old Xavier Edwards, a 30-year-old Carlos Correa, a 23-year-old Jacob Wilson, and a 32-year-old Trevor Story. What are you doing with this tier, Raymond?
I'm gonna cut Correa. I can find 80 games from somewhere else. Um, I'm gonna cut Story. I think that contract is terrible, and Boston just kind of needs to move on. If they want it to work, they're gonna give it every chance. But I don't know. Are you starting to get Anthony Rendon vibes from that contract? Other than Trevor Story probably wants to be on the field. And so then I'll keep Edwards and redraft. Nah, I'll redraft Edwards and keep Wilson.
You're buying
I,
Xavier.
I guess
Xavier
it doesn't.
Edwards just
I guess it
400
doesn't matter.
batting.
I kind of just want to redraft them both because I don't think. I think like Jacob Wilson's ceiling is what Luis Arias with a little bit more speed, and Xavier Edwards is probably just
A little
Bryce
more power.
Turang. Bryce Turang, like this is the bottom for a reason.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna redraft Correa because I think Correa is the best player in that tier per plate appearance, and so I'll just redraft him. And I'm gonna keep Jacob Wilson. I think Jacob Wilson is going to be a better version of Arias. Maybe the batting average will be 20 points lower, but I think he's going to have more power and more speed to the point that he's going to be more valuable over time. Plus, he plays shortstop instead of first, second. So I kind of like Wilson, especially in a points league. I have him in our fantasy baseball invitational for like $4, and like if he, like I think he's more like Steven Kwan honestly than like Arias. But if he can be Steven Kwan at shortstop for that price, like that's pretty fire. And again, athletics player in a minor league ballpark, so it's only going to help him moving to that stadium. Got anything else on these tiers before we move over to the Raymondism to final out the podcast?
I don't.
All right, let's Raymondism it up. What you got?
So I've been scrolling for this entire podcast trying to find one of these, but I finally found one. Last season, Jackson Churio joined an exclusive group of players to go 2020 in their age 20 season. Mike Trout, Vada Pinson, who was a really good player for the Reds in the 70s, and Jackson Churio.
Interesting. What was the second guy's name?
Vada Pinson, and it wasn't the 70s. He was born in 38, so he was probably more like the 50s.
I was like, I've never even heard of him. That's interesting. All right, so that's podcast, and we'll see you next time. Follow Raymond on the Twitter machine at Raymond Atherton. Follow me at Fantasy Aceball. What do I have coming? I have some videos coming from spring training. I'm going to go to some spring breakout games next week, so I'm super excited about those ones. And I'm actually trying to limit my writing a little bit. So I have one article coming on Fantasy Pros. Yeah, exactly. I've got one article that's going to be out like today or tomorrow on Fantasy Pros. And then I'm not going to have another one until like the very end of spring training, basically like a spring training wrap up. So I'm trying to actually limit my writing right now just because I don't have enough time to write and podcast and do all my drafts and go to all these spring training games. So probably next podcast is going to be outfield dynasty and then a starting pitching dynasty. And that might be all you get from me for the rest of the month until like the season starting. So just so you know, probably going to be like once a week here. I actually also I'm going to be on Potapalooza. So I'm doing a prospect Potapalooza on Saturday with Eric Cross and Doc. So that'll be fun. If anyone wants to check that out, that's going to be at 2 p.m. on Saturday live for Potapalooza. And I think Justin, he always puts them into like episodes too on the TGFBI thing. So like you can watch live or listen after the fact. Raymond, you got anything else? Hopefully next time we talk, you're in round like 13 or 12.
Oh my God, dude. Freaking hopefully. Yeah, I might be halfway done with my TGFBI next time.
For next pod. We've got Raymond and I have a draft on Sunday morning. We're in an international Chinese Mafia league, we call it. And
Gabe calls it.
Yeah, and our draft is at like 9 a.m. Eastern time because there's like people in China where it's like nighttime, and then there's like dudes in Hawaii and Japan and shit. So it's like for us, the time's inconvenient. I cannot be drinking beer at 9 o'clock. I have too many children for that at this day and age. So
You gotta do what you gotta do. Love the game.
You're gonna hit it, man. Hey, what are you gonna do? Car bombs? 9 o'clock car bombs?
No way.
Mimosas. All right, Raymond. Peace out,
Peace.
everybody. See you.